sure it doesn't fall out, because you don't want to like have it fall out while you're turning this thing around. Okay? Good so far? All right. Now, we've pretty much got it set up. We haven't hooked up the electronics yet, but let me just explain how to do this manually first. The important thing about the orientation of the telescope is it's going to make it easy for you to track objects. Okay? So this is why it's important for you to understand the way that celestial sphere rotates, because this whole telescope is designed around tracking things as if they're on this big celestial sphere. Okay? So the North Star, if I aim this right along the axis that I've set up the telescope at, like straight like that, it should be, and if I have it north-south direction and at the right elevation, it should be pointing right at the North Star. Okay? If I've set it up correctly, that's what should happen. That's called polar aligning the telescope. You're aligning it toward the North Pole. Okay? Now remember, from our perspective, everything, if you're looking at the North Star, everything is going to be rotating around the North Star like this, right? So there's going to be stars that are going around the North Star. There's ones that are going to be farther away from it that are kind of rising in the east, going over like this and setting in the west. There's going to be ones way down south that are rising over there and setting over there, okay? So we can adjust this to aim at whatever star we want. If I loosen a bracket like this and I rotate around, this really is still looking at the North Star, okay? But if I, let's say, aim it up a little bit, like that, I'm aiming it a little bit away from the North Star, then I change this bracket and I rotate it like this, it should track a star that's rising and going around the North Star like that. Okay? That's the idea behind aligning it properly. There's a little knob right here that you can twist to make fine adjustments, and these, you'll notice these right here, they have markings on them, and those are in hour markings. So, in 1 hour, if you want to change this by 1 hour, you go 1 hour like this, so an hour later the star is going to be up there, an hour later it's going to be over there, right? So you're going around in that direction. Okay, so you're kind of following a star around its latitude line as it's going around the celestial sphere. Technically, on the celestial sphere, it's not called a latitude line, it's called right ascension. So it's going around a line of right, you're changing its right ascension. Okay? When you change this right here, like that, you're changing the declination. Okay? So if I look like this, and then I go down like 10 degrees, 20 degrees, and by the way, there's an angle marking on here as well. If you look on the side, there's angle markings and a little tick right there. These are in degrees, that's degrees of declination. Basically how far you are away from the North Star. Okay? So that's the idea of how this works. And I mean, you can aim it back here. Like when you want to look at the ecliptic, like Jupiter and Saturn, they're in the southern part of the sky. You can basically come over here. You can aim it at Jupiter, lock this down, and then as Jupiter is moving across the sky, you should be able to go like this, and it should track Jupiter across the sky. Okay, because again, you're rotating this around the axis of the celestial sphere. Make sense? Okay. Now, like I said, you can do this manually. You can kind of turn this knob right here, okay, and that's helpful. You can also just do it by hand like this, and you'll see that little knob spinning when you do that. You want to make sure this is unlocked when you're doing this. If you lock this down and then try to change it or turn it, you're going to strip the gears. So make sure it's unlocked when you're doing this. And this one right here, you have this one locked. You can unlock it, and you can move it up and down like this. This one, however, you can lock it, and you can change this, and it will actually do fine adjustments up and down by changing this knob right here. That's a declination knob, which is changing the declination of the telescope. And you can probably see, maybe those of you who are over there, you can probably see there's like a little control bar right here. As I'm moving this thread, it's moving the control bar, which is tilting it like this. So there's like a mechanism for doing that, okay? Questions so far? Are we doing all right? I know there's a lot of information, but you'll get your chance to do it, okay? All right? Now, let's hook up the electronics. The electronics are kind of neat because it allows it to, oops, caught in here. That's okay, because we actually don't need that one. Just like it, twist it up. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is in another plastic bag here, I've got the power cord.